Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning.
I'm Leo Pruthihitarachi, and on behalf of the Leo Club of Purgazovite, I would like to warmly welcome our speakers for the day, Dr. Harsha Gunasekara and Leo Lion Kesari Senratna, PMGF, past multiple district president of Leo District 306A2, and all the Lions, Leo leaders, and fellow friends to this webinar on Stroke Awareness Stroke Away, organized by Leo Club of Purgazovite. We hope you will have a productive session. I now invite the moderator for evening, Leo Disali Gunasekara, to take over the proceedings.
Thank you, Leo Prithvi. A very good morning to all of you joining us today. I am Leo Disali Gunasekara and I will be the moderator of the webinar on Stroke Awareness, Stroke Away, organized by Leo Club of Purgazovite. Without further ado, now I would like to introduce our chief guest of the session, Dr. Harsha Gunasekara, who is a consultant neurologist, the president of the National Strokes Association of Sri Lanka, and who is also a past president of the Association of Sri Lankan Neurologists. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Harsha Gunasekara to educate all of us on the subject matter at hand.
Thank you very much. Now, first of all, I need to check whether you can see the screen. Can you see the slides?
Not yet, Doctor.
I think it should.
Yes.
You can see now?
Yes, put it on full screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, on behalf of the National Stroke Association and our council, I would like to thank the Leo Club of Purgazovite and especially Chanakya for organizing this webinar, which was actually meant to be for the World Stroke Day. But probably with issues, we could have it on the that somewhere close to that day. So we are fortunate enough to sort of have it finally. We do activities throughout the year, not only focusing World Stroke Days, but then particularly we focus mainly the National Stroke Day, which is in February, and then the World Stroke Day in October. So most of these programs of the association are mainly focused on reducing the burden of stroke in the country. So that people will sort of be more aware of the condition, how to recognize it and how to prevent it. And also, but we are focusing on how to improve care of stroke throughout the country by improving the care services, working together with the Ministry of Health mainly, and also with Ministry of Social Services. So this year's theme, I don't know whether you have seen this, is called this Join the Movement, where the World Stroke Organization is the main body which is involved in stroke in the world. So their message is mainly inviting people to take action for prevention. That is the message here. So what they did was like to create a dance chain. If you sort of log into the website, which is at the bottom of the screen, you will know how to sort of participate individually in this movement by sort of creating your own video. If you are good dancers among you, we can do that. So we can create a video of these dance steps and then upload it to the website. So that was there. But then what they are mainly focusing is active lifestyle. Active lifestyle will reduce your risk of stroke. So we commemorate the World Stroke Day every October on the 29th. And our National Stroke Day is usually in February. We usually have it on the last Sunday. So first of all, we'll see how does a stroke happen. If you can see these pictures here. So we have this first type of the stroke, which is the commonest type. I think almost 90% of strokes are due to this, where you get a clot blocking a blood vessel which is feeding the brain. So that is the commonest cause of stroke. So that area of the brain will undergo certain amount of damage and it will cause devastating results. So that is the commonest cause. In about 10%, a blood vessel feeding the brain will rupture and cause a bleed inside the brain. So that also is quite devastating. So most of the time the result is more or less the same. So you get the brain damage and the patient will end up with a paralysis or blindness or loss of speech, all the actions and the functions of the body will get affected as a result of the stroke. So that will really cause severe functional problems, and then also 1/3 of patients with strokes will die, so they will not survive. So it's quite a devastating, life-threatening condition. So those are the percentages. So 88% of this first type, then the 12% of the strokes around the second type. So why we are focusing here now is traditionally stroke was thought to be a condition which was not treatable, and then most of the time the people did not take the patient to hospital, saying no point, there's no treatment, so keep the patient at home. But now we know with the development, the research has shown there is emergency treatment available, but it's very time dependent. So it's important that when you recognize the symptoms, the patient should be brought immediately to the nearest major hospital. So we give this concept, time is brain. So what happens basically is, as I told, there is a clot blocking the blood vessel, then there's a large area of the brain getting affected, but actually speaking, only this small area is initially affected. So there's a large area you can prevent. We call this penumbra, like the surrounding zone, where you can prevent the damage of this area if you treat the patient early. So that's why we say the patient should be brought to the hospital immediately. So the area which is lost is already gone, so we can't prevent that, but then we can do a lot of things to prevent the border zone. Otherwise, the patient will definitely end up with a large area of brain damage causing severe disability. So if you see the numerical sort of the proportions of the nerve cells lost or the brain cells lost, you can see every second 32,000, then every minute 1.9 million, every hour 120 million cells are lost, and then for each stroke 1.2 billion cells are lost. So this is the result. So that's why we need to treat these patients very, very early. So this is actually an example of one of our cases at the beginning, what we saw. So as you come, the first thing we do is a CT scan, and very early you can't see the damage. So this patient has had a stroke, but the brain is still viable. So this is the time ideally to treat the patient. Whereas with time, what you can see is this. So the time has lapsed now about 12 hours. There is a irreversible damage. So we need to treat the patient at this stage. So this is the other type of stroke I told about. 10% you see a rupture of a blood vessel, and this is what you see, a huge blob of this white color like a cotton wool. These are all the bleeding into the brain. So these are the second type of the stroke. So what is the risk of stroke? Now, over the years when we had meetings with this stroke days, we were telling 1 in 6 of us are at risk of stroke. Now, unfortunately, it has gone up. So now we are 1 in 4. So all. So if you have 40 members here who is logged in, so 10 of us will have a risk of having a stroke in our lifetime. So that's the risk here. So world data shows 13.7 million patients every year. at any given time there are 80 million. So these are new patients, 13.7, but 80 million stroke patients and 5.5 million deaths. So it's much more than what COVID is doing. So Sri Lankan data is also interesting. So we just followed up the last 10 years results from the annual health bulletin. And you can see so mainly what we get is the admissions only. So here it's not the true picture of the story, because as we know, most of the patients don't come into hospital. So we have seen quite a significant increase in the number of admissions. And so we have seen about over 50,000 admissions in 2018. I don't have the data after that. And there's a considerable amount of deaths occurring, which has not really reduced. So this is a cause for concern. So main thing we are doing now is making the people aware that how to recognize symptoms of a stroke. So this is the easiest way. If you have seen this earlier, it's called the FAST. It's like a mnemonic where you mainly look for 3 signs in the patient. So look at the face to see whether the patient has any drooping of face. When the patient is smiling or talking, there will be a droop of one side of the face. Then you can ask the patient to lift the arms up. Of that this patient has had a stroke. So T stands for time. Act immediately, go to the nearest major hospital. So now we sort of educate the patient to call 1990, the suicide area, and use the ambulance service too. And the suicide area is also aware of the stroke ready hospitals in the country. So they will take the patient to the nearest hospital where the strokes can be treated. So it's very important. Other important thing is now there is a, we couldn't put that here in our leaflet. There is a suicide area app you can download, and then it's easy for the ambulances to find your location if you have downloaded that and kept it in your phone. So I think there are so many. I've seen sometimes these in like bus halls in the city where the app is there, so you can just scan the barcode and then download the app, or you can visit the app sites and download the 1990 app. So what we did for this World Stroke is also to make the people more aware. We did a short video clip, so I don't know whether it will run. This is what we did.
Doctor, we are unable to hear the sound.
Sorry. So I think, yeah, I have sort of. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, doctor.
You are saying the video sound. You are not. I am hearing
Yes.
it. I think there's something.
Yeah.
Just it's okay. If you can just watch the video.
Sure.
Because it gives the sort of the wording of the same narration is all sort of they are on the screen. So
Alright.
just ask them to watch. All these videos are on our website. So if you log into our homepage, stroke.lk, you can watch these in all languages. So any of you can log into stroke.lk and watch the videos, the World Stroke Day messages on our. It's uploaded to YouTube also. So sorry about that. I don't think I am. Well, I can hear it from my end. I'm not sure how. Is that okay? If I have time, sort of, we'll see whether we can go through the videos again. Yeah.
It's all right, Doctor.
So I'll switch it on again. Yeah. So sorry about the sound problem there. Probably we'll see whether we can. I think I have sent videos to you all. I don't know whether these videos are played in for you all. I just sent all the videos earlier before our last scheduled date. But I think
We have them.
Yeah.
We have them, Doctor. We will play it after the presentation, after your session. We will play it. Okay.
So as I told earlier, so the main thing is the patient should come into hospital very early. Why? Because the 2 treatments they do has to be done very, very early. So as I told, the initial type, the stroke is the one which is easily treatable, where there's a blockage of a blood vessel by a clot. So 90% of strokes are that. So that means there is always a potential to treat these patients if the patient is brought early. So generally now speaking, according to the current research evidence, we need to do these treatments at least within 4.5 hours from the onset of the stroke. So basically we have 2 types. Clot busting, we call it, that is basically clot dissolving using medications or injections, and then also clot removal. So here what they do is we need to screen the patient initially by a scan, then identify that the patient has had a stroke. Then you give a injection which will dissolve the clot and then restore this blood supply to that border zone, and thereby minimize the damage caused by that stroke. So that is the first treatment. Then you can do a clot removal. Now problem is all clots may not, because these can be sometimes very large, which will not dissolve with the injections. So in those patients, we may need to remove it mechanically. So we call it clot removal. So where you pass a catheter through the blood vessel to the tip of the clot, and then you can do ideally you can do a suction of it out of the blood vessel, or you can even use a cord, is called a retriever, and then pull it out. So main aim of both these treatments are to restore the blood supply back to the brain, because the nerve cells are very sensitive, so they won't withstand long cessation of blood supply. So we need to do this very early, and so that's the reason why we ask the patients to quickly recognize the signs and come to hospital immediately. Now, the best option, of course, is stay away. As if you're like your webinar theme today is stroke away. So best option is stay away from a stroke. That's the best option if you can do it, and you can start acting now. So if you take prevention, there are 3 steps. We call this, I'll explain it to you, the primordial prevention, primary prevention, and secondary prevention. So primordial prevention, as you know, these the strokes occur as a result of so many risk factors, which I'll be sort of talking to you in a while. That is, some of those may be not modifiable, but most of those can be changed. For example, age is a risk factor. So with increasing age, you are at risk, so you can't prevent that. Then the male, there's a slightly more higher risk in the male population for stroke. Then certain ethnic groups are more at risk, like the Asians, the Afro-Caribbeans. So those you can't change. But there are so many other things we could change. The lifestyle factors, the diseases like blood pressure, diabetes, and all that. So if we can prevent these through our proper lifestyles, active lifestyle, healthy diet, and then we can prevent the strokes from occurring. So first thing is to prevent getting the other diseases which can predispose you to a stroke. So the commonest risk in this world over is high blood pressure. So you need to have a proper lifestyle to prevent getting these diseases like high blood pressure and diabetes also. But unfortunately, in some way, as you know, recently we had the World Diabetes Day on the 14th of November. And now they say 8% of the population are diabetic. So there may be so many of us among us that we are either having high blood pressure or diabetes or both. Still, it's not too late for you to prevent a stroke by properly taking treatment for these conditions. So that is called the primary prevention. So the first step is, the best step is, stay away from even having these conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure. But at least even if you are having that, still you can control your high blood pressure and diabetes and still stay away from a stroke. But unfortunately, some people get a stroke and then they come, and sometimes most of the time we see is once they come with a stroke, when you test them, only we know that they have been diabetics or they have been having high blood pressure. Without their knowledge, they are checked. So still we always emphasize on this secondary prevention, because once you have a stroke, 1 in 4 of stroke people will have another stroke or a recurrent stroke. So we need to encourage them to take their medications and adhere to the lifestyle modifications to prevent another stroke. So what is the way? So 10 steps which has been like advised by the World Stroke Organization to stay away from a stroke. I think I have distributed these slides. So it's important to sort of go through this to see how we can stay away and prevent a stroke from happening. So again, they remind us the risk of stroke. So 1 in 4 of us are likely to have a stroke in our lifetime. First thing is control high blood pressure. So for those who have high blood pressure, you need to check and treat. And even if you don't have, ideally after the age of 40, we need to get it checked. Or if you have even a family member in your family who has high blood pressure, you may keep checking it regularly, and so that make sure that your blood pressure is within the normal range. So that's very important to control. This is one of the most important risk factors for stroke. As you can see here, half of the strokes are due to high blood pressure. So 50% of the strokes could be prevented if we can clearly control this. The other important thing is here, the physical activity. So as we know, the lifestyles have sort of prompted us for more sedentary lifestyles, particularly now with the current issues with COVID-19. We know that people are working from home and there's less activity. So this is not a good thing. So you have to make sure that you maintain physical activity even during this lockdown period. So the ideal recommendation is to do about 20 to 30 minutes of moderate exercise. If you can do this 5 times a week, it's the best. But those who don't have time can do a longer session and sort of make it maybe sort of 3 times a week or even twice a week. So so moderate exercise, for an example, would be a brisk walk would be the sort of the best example of this. Doing a brisk walk, sort of brisk enough for you to sort of have a sort of mild sort of exertional panting and sweating. So that's one of the key things recommended. So 20 to 30 minutes of moderate exercise 5 times a week. A third of strokes happen as a result of physical inactivity. So it's important. So that the second message is regular exercise and keeping active. Then the diet. So again, with the current sort of trends, we know that we are more prone to sort of go for processed foods, the fast foods, and diets like that. So these can have issues because they contain a high amount of salt and also high in saturated fats. So that's why we need to sort of, as far as possible, make sure that we have at least 5 portions of fruits and vegetables per day. So ideal is to have 3 vegetables and 2 fruit at least in your daily, in the 3 meals you are taking. So that's not too difficult if you can maintain that. And also, as far as possible, reduce the intake of fast foods and processed foods. So try to eat as much as fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, cereals, and sort of avoid our fat intake. So it's sort of the topic for discussion at a lecture itself about healthy diet, so I'm not going to elaborate too much on it. So the third factor we emphasize here is eating a healthy and a balanced diet. Then blood cholesterol levels. So about 25% of strokes are linked to high levels of cholesterol. So this can be actually checked by doing this blood test called the lipid profile after a 10-hour fast. So it will pick up your risk. It also depends on it should be considered in relation to other risk factors you have. So as if you are having a high blood pressure, your risk is high. Or if you're having just the high cholesterol alone, you can sort of change your diet and see whether you can bring it down. Or if you have a high family history of stroke, and then even you can treat it and bring it down. So it's important that we control this. Then maintaining a healthy weight. So again, 1 in 5 strokes are linked to overweight or obesity. So as we know, we need to maintain the BMI and also very important to maintain the waist circumference. So both of these are individually risk factors for stroke. So you may have a normal BMI, but if you have a high waist circumference, then your risk is high. So it's very important that both of these indices are controlled. Then stopping smoking and avoiding passive smoke. So that's what is meant here actually. 1 in 10 strokes are linked to smoking. So there's nothing called controlling here. Just quit. If you're a smoker, you have to just stop smoking, and also stay away from smoking environments and passive smoking. So there may be services where you can get help in sort of controlling your smoking habits, but it's important that you make up your mind, and because smoking doesn't cause any addiction, so it's just that you need to make up your mind and stop the habit. What about alcohol intake? So initially we thought alcohol is not a risk factor for stroke. Then they thought, yeah, alcohol was only a risk factor for bleeds, that the second type of the stroke I showed you earlier, where you get a rupture of a blood vessel. But now it is known that alcohol is a main cause of stroke, particularly if you are using excessive amounts. So very important that we stick to the safe limits of alcohol use if you can't sort of limit yourself, best is what we say patients is stay away from it. So you know the safe limits of 21 units per week for males and 14 units per week for females. So that's the limit. So you can't use your limit in one day. That's the other important thing. So you can't do binge drinking. So the 1 to 2 units per day is the maximum. So that's very important. Then a minority of us can have certain heart ailments which can cause very high risk of stroke. So one of these are called this irregular heart rhythm, or this term atrial fibrillation. So it's important that if you particularly have palpitations, or even if you're sort of over the age of 50 years, maybe that you do a routine ECG sometimes and then pick this up and then take treatment to prevent a stroke. Because patients who have this are 5 times more likely to get a stroke than the normal population. So diabetes is very important, as I told you. There's a high risk of stroke in diabetics, so important that you identify whether you're a diabetic by blood checks, and then take treatment accordingly, and also control your diet. And finally, we come to the last thing, managing stress and depression. So about 1 in 6 strokes are linked to problems with mental well-being. So it's very important that managing stress, depression, anger, anxiety is very important, because these will be indirectly affecting your blood pressure and so on. So it's important that you manage this well. And also in the situation like post-COVID or COVID-19 situations, we know that there are a lot of stresses affecting us with work. So we need to sort of be aware of this, and then we also sort of health educate the patients always to take treatment whenever necessary. Counseling may be necessary for these patients. So it's very important that we manage this to prevent a stroke. So I think I'll be coming to the end of the talk. So the more key points here are 1 in 4 of us will have a lifetime risk of stroke. Remember that. Staying healthy and active are 2 very easy, simple steps that you can start even immediately to stay away from having a stroke. Then other important thing is the fast recognition of stroke. Remember the term fast. Teach others, share the message among others, and then sort of help the people to recognize strokes early and you can help prevent to save a life. So you can join our programs by logging into the website, which we do usually for the World Stroke Day and National Stroke Day. Of course, now with the current situation, now usually we should have stroke walks for National Stroke Days, which we are unable to do it with the current situation. But most of the time we might have to do programs online and awareness programs on media and so on. So thank you anyway for listening and joining in today, and I think we can have a session on questions later on. Thank you.
As Dr. Harsh said, 1 in 4 of us will have strokes in our lifetime, but most strokes can be prevented by following a few steps. So thank you, Dr. Harsha, for educating us on this vast subject area. I am sure that just like I did, every one of us present here got an understanding about what strokes are and how we can prevent it from happening. Now I would like to recognize our past district governor, Lion Kamal Seneviratna PMJF, and Leo Mudit Jayasekara, immediate past district president and multiple district secretary, and also Leo Praminda Vindika, the district president of Leo District 306A2, for joining with us today. So we have two videos with us now. First one is the video sent by the doctor Harsha Gunasakara, and the second one shows a scenario on how we should respond to a stroke. So let's watch these videos and enhance our knowledge more on this subject area.
Learn to recognize a stroke fast. A stroke happens when the blood flow to part of the brain is disturbed. This results in rapid death of brain cells, which progresses every minute. 1 in 4 of us are at risk of having a stroke in our lifetime. Use the letters FAST to recognize the sudden signs of a stroke. Here is the way to remember it. F stands for face drooping, A stands for arm weakness, S stands for speech difficulty, and T stands for time to take immediate action. Call 1990 or transfer the patient to the nearest major hospital. Stroke is treatable, and faster the person receives treatment, lesser the chances of death and disability. Learn to recognize a stroke fast and help save a life. This is a message from the National Stroke Association of Sri Lanka. I think that there was a delay in the picture coming on with the narration. I think probably best for you all to log into the website and watch these videos.
Sure, doctor.
Yeah.
Now he's been wanting to put garlic
the
chives
video
in
got stuck
everything.
in some places. Yeah.
Now he's been wanting to put garlic chives in everything.
Well, not everything.
Dad, the side of your face is drooping. Mom,
It's probably nothing.
Dad, are you okay?
You're slurring. Why are you slurring? Raise your arms up in the air for me.
Dad, are you okay?
Gracie, call 911.
I just
Honey? Tim!
need an ambulance to 7th floor.
Tim! Tim, look at me,
don't know
Gracie.
what the-
Tell them to hurry. Tim, look at me. Look at me, Tim. I don't know. I think he's having a stroke.
I think my dad is having a stroke.
Tim, what's going on, baby? My husband, he's cold. Are you cold, honey? Are you cold? Okay. Gracie? See, Gracie's gonna come, sweetheart. We're just gonna go. We're just gonna go in the ambulance right now. We're gonna go to the hospital. Okay? Okay. Huh? I'm right here. I'm right here. Gracie, meet us there. I'm right here. I'm right here. Okay. Okay, here we go. You just stay right here. You just stay and breathe. Just breathe. Tim? Tim?
Dad?
How you feeling?
I'm fine.
Well, you've had a stroke. But because you got here quickly, you're looking at a full recovery.
So I hope you polished your knowledge on stroke awareness and how to prevent it from happening. So let's act fast and prevent these strokes from happening and exercise daily as young Leos. We would have time to exercise daily, and because in spite of our busy schedules, our health has to be given the prominence. So now Without further ado, I would like to invite our special guest of the session, Leoline Kesari Senaviratna PMJF. Leoline Kesari Senaviratna, one of the most influential personalities in the Leo Multiple 306 Sri Lanka. She is a proud product of Holy Family Convent Colombo 4 and a graduate with double major in international business and business management at ACBT. She's currently working as a senior associate at PwC's Academy, Sri Lanka. Now I would like to invite Leoline Kesari Senaviratna to address the gathering.
Thank you very much, Nisali. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, very good morning to all of you. And first and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Harsha Gunasekara for joining with the Leos and the Lions and making awareness on such a timely and such a needed topic for our community. And then, I have to thank Leo Club of Purga Sovita and especially Chanya and her team for organizing awareness. Because I think in Doctor's presentation also he timely covered it, because we focus mainly about the things that that he's having attention already in our community, but not having the impact, I would say, because there are more deaths happening more than COVID, but then again we are not paying attention because people doesn't talk about it a lot, right? So it doesn't go about strokes or diabetes or anything. It doesn't go up on Facebook. So it's for us, especially youth, it doesn't come to our mind, right? So I honestly thank the Leos for organizing such awareness. And then again, I have to bring up a very small personal story, because I don't think Dr. Harsha recalls me, but my father also was a patient of his, is a patient of his actually. And one fine day, because after a very tiring Leo day itself, I think some of the Leos might know, 2 years ago, he came home and he was just coughing a lot. And then he was, having the little bit of slurring in his speech. And we honestly thought it was a cough and he must be having phlegm, that's why he's slurring. That's why he has that, funny tone in his voice, because the words were not clear. And the next day also it continued. And even then we were like, why Tati, why are you talking like this? Open your mouth and talk. That's the only thing that we did, because we didn't honestly know what was happening. And then when we went Dr. Harsha after CT scans and after many sessions of physiotherapy, speech therapy, and everything only, all these years have seen my father now, he's fully recovered, right? So it's mainly thanks to Dr. Harsha. So I have to first and foremost pay my gratitude. And that's why actually I accepted the invitation of Leo Chanya as well, because this is a session or a topic that I cannot ignore, even though I'm no expert like Dr. Harsha at all. But especially you, right? You and I in our age, we have to pay focus. We have to pay attention to what we are doing daily. Because what we are doing today is what actually impacts tomorrow. And what we talk is going to be the hot topics in our environment for others to actually know about, right? So the first thing actually what Disali and Shania wanted me to talk is how to make youth aware about this, right? This, what you're doing already, this webinar is the first step of what we can carry out, right? I mean, this will go on Facebook, try sharing it. Because as doctor said, I think clearly the unfortunate thing about strokes or these, non-contagious diseases is the fact that we don't find it at the treatable stage, right? Because it's asymptomatic. Sometimes we don't know whether we have any sicknesses like diabetes or cholesterol or pressure. We don't know whether we have it right now itself. But if we identify, or before we identify, if we can prevent it at the young age by doing all the necessary simple facts that we can do as youngsters, then I don't think we need to escalate into going into, surgeries or going into other medicinal factors, right? Because the sad part of these diseases is that these sicknesses have a high incubation, right? Once it comes into our body, true, we may live longer, but also we may suffer longer, right? There is no point in life if you are going to, be either bedridden, or if you are going to lose our speech, or if our movement is limited. There is no such point in our life. So, right. So I want to focus on 3 points, especially after the 10 points that doctor presented. And I just want to apply how the youth can actually address this in our community. Okay? So the three things I want to actually focus about in prevention and part of it is the alcohol usage or the drug prevention of it, the first one of it. And the second one would be the unhealthy diets we all consume. And the third one would be how to negate the physical inactivity in our youth these days, right? So coming to the first point of the usage of tobacco and alcohol and whatnot, uh, you know, it's mostly high in youth, right? It's true, like, one glass a day is okay and all, but unfortunately, our youth doesn't know how to limit, right? They know, like, when they meet up with their friends, they get together and there is no limit at all, not even to a one bottle, it goes on and on, right? That's only in youth in our days. And then again, in the other families who are in poverty and all, they don't know how to balance their finances, and most of it, because of the stress or whatnot, goes into the drugs usage itself. They just spend and spend and spend. So what we can do, unfortunately, we can't actually, go into Sri Lanka and totally erase poverty or urbanization over here, right? We can't clear our genetics and say, okay, fine, as long as, we can't blame anything else. But what we can blame is the ones that is already happening in our community and already happening surrounding us that we can actually control. So my advice is, whenever you see friends consuming, always just slightly remind them of the limits, slightly remind them of the consequences that they will one day face, educate them, right? Empower them, because we don't have to live in a norm where in the society where it says, if you don't drink, you're not manly enough. If you don't smoke, you're not cool enough to hang out with us. Those norms are actually stupid ones that actually needs to go out of this community, and only you and I in this age can carry out this message to the youth itself, right? Because if imagine if someone else comes and talking to our friends and all, will they listen? No. But once a friend goes that word, they'll obviously try to listen more, right? And also, if you know any addicts, or if you know anyone who is, like, afraid to talk about their addictions, afraid to accept that their addictions are, contagious, or, like, influencing others as well, try talking to them, because there is no shame in going into therapy or going in and talking to an elder or a doctor and knowing the consequences of these simple acts. Because trust me, it's not that you're one weekly drink or, one cigarette that you smoke. It's the addiction that you're gathering up all your life, all the years to come as well. So that is something we as youth can carry out. And the second point is the unhealthy habits and the diet. True, I think doctor clearly said this is like, one whole other day of session. If you have to talk, what is healthy and what is unhealthy, it will go on. But the three simple things we have to be aware of, are we consuming enough fruits and vegetables, right? Or are we just consuming salt itself, right? All these advertisements in TV and, all these, foreign products, to even the artificial products, we say, ready in 2 minutes, ready in 5 minutes, but they have salt high up in a level like that, we don't usually need to consume in a day or two or even a week, right? So the salt consumption is very high on the fast food. So if we can carry out a message, right? Because see, in a way, this time is the best way to control, because now we cannot go outside and hang around at this, McDonald's, KFC, to whatnot outside. But what we can do at home is try getting ourselves ready to a very healthy habit, right? It doesn't mean, I don't say, you have to stop eating everything from outside, but moderate level of consumption is something that we could learn basically, right? And also, like, addictions to those kind of food and that additives is also very, very normal in our days, which we need to make sure that they know the consequences of that as well, right? So balanced food, another way that we can do as youngsters, and I think it will create the movement in our life as well at home, is to make sure at our home itself, vegetables and fruits are always grown. Okay, so if you can, at least a day, just go to the garden and try plucking the unwatered grass and all. At least you bend around and, you get your movements up and going. Because that's like the third and the most important point, the physical inactivity of the youth, especially in these days. Because we're so comfortable either lying in our bed, getting our laptop and doing work, or just, sitting around eating because our parents are always feeding us. They bring the food near to us. That comfort is always there, right? But somehow or another, even though you don't go to a gym, even though you don't have treadmills or all these gym equipments at home, you can still be active in your own little way, right? Do cardio the way you can. It's okay if you're not flexible or you don't have stamina. Slowly build it up, because that's what counts. Because especially when you're at home, try doing a little bit of more chores. Go to your garden, do some gardening, sweep around the house, try breaking all these nets around, so that will get your movement and build your stamina at least 1% a day. These are like tiny little things that we can do, because this is what actually matters, my dear Leos and Lions, and every outsiders. And all these messages, we need to make an awareness of. That is the part. That is the part that I really want to actually aware this, because otherwise, if we don't talk around about it, if we don't make an actual impact on it, no one will, and others will not look, right? Because that's the unfortunate part in Sri Lanka, or I would say the entire world itself. We talk about cancers, and if that is only if a patient in our family is cancer, has been detected cancer and all. But what do we talk mostly? We talk about COVID these days, right? Which is contagious and scary and all. But as doctor said, more people die out of stroke. But do you think we actually know about stroke? Because I honestly didn't know 2 years ago, right? But we were fortunate to overcome that challenge. But imagine the people who are not aware but going through the life. The second video, if you all can just put it out on social media, make it go viral, right? Those are the ones that we need to go viral. These are the things, the topics that we have to make it cool to our youth to talk about among friends, right? These are not only for the books or when you get sick, you go ahead, right? So this is what I really wanted to say shortly, because I think Dr. Harsha covered basically everything, and I think it was a very, very valuable topic and a very timely one. So try taking most of these messages as Leos to the community, and try making a challenge, to you to talk about these scenarios, or to bring up their confidence of going healthy or going active, or avoiding alcohol, or limiting alcohol, I would say. So something like that. Bring up creative ways that we can actually go up to youth and make sure they are also aware. So I would like to thank once again for Kolkata Servitor Dios for having me, and my gratitude doesn't actually sums up in words. So I hope this awareness will be done properly after the project as well, so we can actually make a difference. Remember, whatever you do today, small, will be the ones that will be big today. So once again, God bless everyone. Therwan Saranai Siludinatam.
Thank you, Leola and Kesari Senaviratnam PMJF, for sharing your words of wisdom and knowledge as always, and for accepting our invitation to be a part of this webinar. Right, so now we will open the forum for any questions. You can either unmute yourself and direct your question to either of the speakers joining with us today, or you also have the option of dropping your questions on the chat box, and I will be more than happy to read it out to the speakers and the audience. So do we have any questions? So we got one question. That's to Leo Lion Kesari Senaviratnam. Hello, I would like to ask this from Leo Lion Kesari regarding her opinion on how practical is it to take care of ourselves with the busy and hectic lifestyles of the modern day.
Yes, Pisali, thank you. So, part of me, I would say it's not impractical as well, right? I mean, the doctor has clearly said factually, like if you can find 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day, and if you can do on weekdays, it is actually needed. But then again, what I would suggest, what I would actually say for youth, especially, is you're anyways active, right? I mean, if you're having a small garden or at least at home, try walking fast. Okay, if you're actually seated and doing work in at home and all, try finding a small 10-minute break or at least 10 or 15. I think any one of us can find, right? I mean, I don't think anyone is that busy or hectic. It's just that we have to prioritize ourselves. We have to prioritize the importance of this, because once we find out, like, that we have to focus on it, because I would say, physical activities, the increasing part of it is not to get in shape or get like a fantastic body or like nothing like that. It's just to make sure that our body is active enough to digest properly and to make sure the health stays away. So I would first say, my answer would be, first is to prioritize the importance of being healthy, and second is find 10 minutes, at least wake up early, find something to sacrifice out of your Facebook time, or could be, during a virtual meeting when where you have to mute yourself and keep, while the meeting is going, you can always at least, jog on the spot or do some cardio and all. I know it may sound very impractical, but these are the little things that we can do daily. And once, this becomes very normal to us, I think then we can improve ourselves and, go out for a jog, early in the morning if you're not in isolated area or anything like that. But go for a jog early morning or in the late evening. You can do this even though you are stuck at home or you're working constantly. Whatever it is, I think we can do it definitely. I hope I answered your question, Parami, and if not, just let me know, like directly. I'll let you know.
Yeah, I think that's a very important question, because I think when you start your career, you're working long hours. I know that a lot of young people come to me for medical certificates, because they are so stressed at work and they had to work long hours. So I think, yeah, it's tough when you in your stages of work. But I think even during your working hours, probably you can sort of have some activity, using stairs instead of elevators, and trying to sort of do some walking back home without coming up to your sort of doorstep. Those things also you can use up if you are really stuck for time. So using your work time also to have some physical activity, some other option you can try here.
So I would also like to add to this a small suggestion, like as undergraduates and as the working crowd, like we rarely have time for ourselves, like from morning to night. It's either assignments or exams or anything work related. So we rarely have time for our health. So don't you think like companies and universities should introduce programs either in the morning or in the evening to enhance our health? Don't you think we should implement programs as such?
Yeah, I think that's very important. Like I know some workplaces have it. I sort of saw it one time in this. I'm not really sure. I can't sort of tell you what, but a lot of workplaces have, but I can't remember any universities have started it. But I think it's a good. Of course, they have all their sort of recreation activities where you can take part in universities, but not as a sort of a routine program. Yeah, it's always made optional. So yeah, it's a good suggestion actually. Yeah, but I think initially there was a program where you underwent some form of training, which is now stopped. Isn't that that was called, I think, before you enter the university, the entrance used to go through this training. There were some complications occurring also during that, and then it was stopped. Now that program is not there in long, I think.
Actually, this is to add into you, and as Leos as well, we can introduce this concept to organizations and all. Like in our organization, we have like one day a week where yoga is there, and also workout sessions in the evening, and but also, as Leo, simply we can suggest to the HR, or if not, even at your universities and at schools even. I mean, and not in schools, since we don't have lifts or anything. But then again, I have seen personally most of these steps. They have this sticker on steps saying, like, one step is equal to this much of calories burning up, and then if you go up the stairs one or twice, this much of health calories that you will burn and all. So if you can, like, implement something like that and introduce to your universities and even to workplaces mostly, those small things, one day itself it won't change, but once people see, most of them are traveling and most of them are, telling the good part of it, they'll carry out. So this is something that as DOs we can also implement to universities or anywhere where it's necessary.
So when you said that, I just remembered that I'm an undergraduate at the Kotharawa Defense University, and they have actually banned us from using the lifts in our university. So we have to, climb all the 7 staircases. So I think that's one of the ways in which they are trying to enhance our health in our university. So is there any more questions, or shall we proceed?
I have a question to Dr. Harsha. One of my relatives actually suffered a stroke about like a few years ago, and like they had to undergo a surgery to recover. And I just want to know if there's a risk in it happening again, and if there's a risk, if there are any special steps to prevent it from happening and such.
Dr. Harsha?
Sorry, I think I lost the connection during the last part of your question. You mentioned about one of your aunts having surgery for a stroke. Is that correct?
Sandali, can you please repeat the question?
Yes, sir. Like they had to undergo surgery, and I wanted to know if there's a risk in it happening again, and what they can do to prevent it.
Yes. So the surgery is done. Is there anything you need to know, or can I answer that what you mentioned? So surgery is done for the second type of stroke I mentioned, like when you have a bleed, which is in about 10% of patients. So that is there's no medication to treat that. So you need to do a surgery to take the blood out, or sort of and reduce the pressure on the brain. As all strokes, once you have a stroke, there is always a risk of having another stroke. So therefore you need to carefully take your medication and take all the preventive measures to prevent another stroke. As I told, 1 in 4 of us who have had a stroke already are at risk of having another recurrent stroke. So it's important that although you have recovered from your previous stroke, you can't forget everything. So you need to take your treatment, and particularly this type of stroke where the bleed occurs is due to uncontrolled blood pressure. So it's important that you control your blood pressure very well and take all the other medications to prevent another stroke. So so it can be quite one of the more dangerous types of stroke where you have to go for a surgery. So it would have been quite a large blood clot which has to be had to be evacuated. So it's always important that you continue your treatment, control the blood pressure very well. There is a risk of it happening again if you are not careful. Did that answer your question, or any other concerns you have?
Yes, sir. And I do have another question. Like my uncle also got a stroke. He had Parkinson's. So is there like a huge possibility of having strokes when it comes to having such diseases, and because of that because
Yeah.
of that being complicated, you can't take much precautions as well, because that some precautions would affect Parkinson's and such diseases.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, these are two different neurological diseases. Parkinson's. So we have seen patients with Parkinson's getting stroke. There's no direct relationship between the two, but probably it will only add to the effects of the other disease. Like, so the stroke will cause more problems for the Parkinson's, and Parkinson's will cause more problems with recovering from a stroke. So, but then there is no there's no sort of a need to give up hope. The Parkinson's treatment has to be continued separately, and then the stroke treatment and what we call is rehabilitation is very important. That is the exercise programs which we do with physiotherapists and speech therapists to, as Keshri sort of mentioned, for what was done for our father. So it's very important that although you don't receive the initial urgent treatments, there are so much more that can be done if the attention is given earlier to reduce the disability and bring the patient back to normal life. So Parkinson's is not a sort of a block there, but it's a bit of a hindrance, but then we can control both and sort of give the maximum benefit to the patient. Any other questions? Or
Do we have any other questions?
Yes, I have one question, Dr. Harsha.
Yeah.
Sir, I've heard, and you also mentioned that stress causes most of these illnesses. So, would you be able to elaborate further on the connection of stress and the risk of strokes? Because we all are living stressful lives now.
Yeah, so stress actually is very common. I mean, if you don't have stress, it will be very unusual. So it's all of us suffer from it to a varying degrees. But it's important that we control our lifestyles, because how it affects the person is it has a what you call the stress will cause unnecessary release of the stress hormones, what we call. Particularly the hormones which are connected to control of our blood pressure and also blood glucose. So for example, if you are healthy without any underlying diseases, still it can cause intermittent changes in your blood pressure and glucose levels, and also for a patient who is already having diabetes and high blood pressure, it will cause changes. So it's important that we control this. So if you're having issues, you can go for counseling help, and then, or you can sort of, if it's really needed, we can give some medications to control. So a lot of people may have problems with sleep, like that is a very important thing. And then and at the extreme of it, things like depression. So where we need to seek medical help to control this. So over a long period of time, these can cause a higher risk of stroke. That's what the studies have shown. So we need to pay more attention if we are having these to reduce our risk of stroke, particularly considering the current situation with issues concerning COVID-19 and changes in our work environments and so on. Did that so answer your question? Or
Yes, doctor. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? So seems like our audience have cleared their doubts on strokes and how to prevent strokes from happening. So now I would like to invite Leo Chanakya Ranasinghe, Vice President of Leo Club of Purgasovita, to deliver the vote of thanks and to conclude the webinar.
Thank you, Leo Disali. So first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our facilitators for the webinar, Dr. Harsha Gunasekara, the consultant neurologist and president of the National Stroke Association of Sri Lanka. So doctor, as a renowned and esteemed medical practitioner, we are very much grateful to have your presence here today in the webinar, educating about the important aspects of a stroke. And we are very much thankful for the time that you reserved for us amongst your busy schedules. And then I would like to thank our beloved Leo Lion Kesari Senimiratna, past multiple district president of Leo Multiple 306. Aki, thank you for sharing your experience with us and your knowledge as a youth in Sri Lanka. And we believe that every one of us can get an example how we should care about ourselves as well as our family members. And we are very much grateful for your presence here today. And finally, I would like to thank our audience for today's webinar. I sincerely thank all the Lions, Leo leaders and Leos who are present here today. And I apologize if there is any technical difficulties and delays on our part. But I hope you all got something out of the session we had today. And if you want to learn more about these strokes, you can always visit the National Stroke Association of Sri Lanka. I'll put the link in the chat box, and you are very much feel free to search. Please do visit the website and learn and spread the message among your friends and family. So with that, we'll wind up the Stroke Awareness webinar. And thank you all for joining with us today for an hour and a half. And I wish you all a pleasant day. Thank you.
Thank you.